I don't know.
Who's starting the broadcast?
I don't know.
He has done. The little live lights appeared. Hello there, one and all.
Well, welcome to yet another episode of Let's Show Now. This week you are joined by the usual motley crew of Jack, who's in the background. Hello, Jack.
Hello. I'd just like to go on record to say that we don't hate race flight. We just like mocking Tony because Tony's an idiot. And Tony is incompetent and tries to use race flight and it doesn't work. Tony can't even flash beta flight onto his board.
Is that why Tony is hiding this week?
I don't know. Yeah, Tony is an embarrassment to race flight. On the other hand, Schizo makes it look good. Carry on.
Schizo makes it look amazing.
Yeah, indeed, we are joined by Preston from Race Flight. Also, Adam, Frank, Clinton on the background, and myself, Jay. So, welcome, Preston. Over from.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, no, it's good to have you on. Generally, we like to find a little bit out about people that come on as our guests because a lot of people start from many different backgrounds and things. So we do like to get it out of the way of just finding out what your story is, where you actually came from and how you got to where you are today, which is with us.
Well, I've done internet technology for a while, had some companies doing it, and I got into this drone flying, and I think my progression was, I think I started with D-Ronin, then upgraded to Clean Flight. It flew better. Thought it couldn't get any better. Upgraded to Beta Flight. It flew better. Thought it couldn't get any better. And then I came across this thing called Race Flight because I had an F4. And that was when Kalen was just first, he first did it. And I saw there was a bunch of bugs in it. And I had actually offered to help everyone else along the line, like D-Ronin, Clean Flight, Race Flight. And they kind of brushed me aside or whatever. So he's like, here's GitHub access, go fix them. And that's kind of how me and Kalen met up originally, and that's really when Race Flight really got started. I mean, back then it was just pretty much he added F4 support to Beta Flight, I think was the majority of it, and some flight code changes. And since then, I mean, I have a big history in development. You know, I've been programming for, I don't know, like 25 years or something like that.
Wow.
Kalen knows flight code really well. So it was a kind of a combination where I could kind of show Kalen this is the proper way kind of to do things in C because he didn't have a lot of experience in C, and he knew flight code really well, so he could be like, this is how we should do the flight code because he did OpenPilot before. And then as you can see,
you have to have the skills to fix the bugs as well, because I've got a lot of problems with my Mac, but I guess they're not going to just let me, come and help out unless I can do something about it.
Yeah, I mean, it was kind of a good combination. I mean, we have the same mindset, I came along and I'm like, why are we doing things this way? It should be done like this. And he's like, I've been saying that forever and no one wants to listen to me. And he was kind of like, he was about pushing the boundaries, pushing it as fast as you can go. Because if it's as fast as you can go, it can't be worse to be faster. I mean, nothing's ever worse when it's faster. And we found out when we made it faster and when we did things properly and where we used the hardware properly, it flew better. I mean, that's the bottom line is when you do things right, it's better. And I guess everyone kind of argues what the right way is, and we kind of do it the way the manufacturers of the chip says to do things.
Exactly. Yeah, I mean they're very capable chips that are on these boards nowadays. So, and often I think the way it's progressed, it's taken software engineers to take a little bit of the hardware modeled together. I mean the original Dominic Clifton days to fix it to take it to the next level, and it only got us so far from the 8-bit to to carry it to where we are today. But it's good to see that chips are finally starting to be utilized to the degree that they're capable of.
Yeah, and originally we thought we were going to do an F7. We thought that would be our first board we released, and we realized when we redid everything, it got way more efficient. So we don't even need an F7 right now. An F7 we will need at some point when we start doing really crazy stuff, and we have one, and that's kind of planned. But right now, why waste your money on an F7? When you don't need one. I mean, we're running at like 25% CPU doing crazy stuff, 32 kilohertz, full LEDs changing nonstop. I mean, everything we can possibly imagine, logging, all that stuff. We're not even at 30% CPU. So it's not needed anything better than an F4. But I mean, we did everything the way we thought it should be done. And I think that makes it work better,
You see, back in the multi-Wii days, the actual chips themselves, the Atmels, they wouldn't actually, they got to the point where, no, we can't fill it. But then with extra modules like navigation and things, which is, a bulk of extra code on top, they ran out of space ultimately, and they had to progress. So I dare say, how long do you think it'll be before it's fully utilized to a degree where you'd have to move up?
Well, I think we're actually going to be adding in some GPS things and stuff like that, and we're adding a lot more sensors to these. So when we get to the point where we can use, I mean, like right now on your gyro, you have your accelerometer and you have your gyro, and pretty much no one uses the accelerometer. Most people using beta flight, they don't use the accelerometer because they think it's just for level mode, for example. But that data is something that can be used to make your quad fly even better. And the same thing, so even if you're doing just pure acro, that can still be utilized and used. So as we add in more sensors, it makes acro fly better, but we can add even more level modes and more safety modes and make your quad do more crazy things. And as we add more and more of that stuff, then we're going to be going more towards, the F7 where we need more CPU power or whatever. But right now, I mean, to be honest, it's not really needed. I mean, I don't know if you guys have flown Raceflight 1. We just did a beta release, our first beta, public beta, yes, last night.
Raceflight was incredible. Like, I'm absolutely gobsmacked by it.
Yeah. I mean, it just flies amazing. Yeah. I mean, it feels like you're sailing through the air, like you're a ghost or something. It does what you say. And I think we can get even better. I mean, one thing I've learned in this hobby is every time I thought, like, it can't get any better, I find something and it got better. And you don't realize that it could have gone better until you've felt the thing that's better. And I think that's why we're having issues with the whole, people still using F1s. Because they're like, I can't fly any better than this. But they don't realize it can't because they've never seen what it could do.
Yeah, no, it's true, actually. I mean, that's a progression sometimes throughout them. I mean, I moved from, just some clean flight to a KISS for a little while. And actually, it was a completely new kettle of fish for how I was flying. And I fell in love with it for a while. It's just the different things that go along that I felt a better pilot once I was flying on a different flight controller from what I was used to before. I've had a go on Clinton's race flight, and I loved it. I mean, he built it well and everything like that on his machine, but Clinton's our resident expert on this race flight.
I did have issues though, and I think it's a lot of it's annoying because you see so many people sort of saying bad things about race flight, but it all comes down to the fact that they're just not mounting them correctly, and it's really irritating. Some of the stuff you see, and you're just like, well, go back, do it again, make it right, and it will fly perfectly. I mean, I've got 2 of them running race flight, and both times straight out the box, completely default, no settings changed, and they just fly incredibly, absolutely incredibly.
Yeah, I think we've we kind of try and listen to that. People were like, why do you come out to version 2 so quick? You just did the version 1. Well, because we listen to people, and you realize, hey, we can put these gummies on it. I came up with this gummy idea to make it way easier to mount, so you don't have to worry about O-rings and all that stuff. And I put some more filtering on it to kind of make up for some bad PDBs. And truth be told, they should all fly the same, but it's just less likely to cause someone problems installing the new version over the old version. I mean, I didn't replace any of my old versions in any of my quads. It makes no difference to me. I mounted it right. But we're just trying to make it easier for people to get a good experience with race flight right away and not get frustrated. And software release last night was all about that too. I mean, it's so easy now. There is no way that it's way easier to set up Raceflight 1 now than any other flight control software. I mean, basically, you run 4 wizards, you click 4 buttons, you twiddle the sticks, do a few things, and you're all set up perfect out of the box. It should fly just amazing now.
That is completely true, actually, but it almost makes it too easy. It doesn't feel like a hobby anymore. You've made it too easy.
Well, no, it's called more accessible, because actually what it highlighted when people don't build these things and they have problems is there's people that can't build these things to fly. And what it does is it makes it more accessible to the people that don't know how to really build these things and isolate, from vibration for all sorts of reasons, can actually start building it and using the boards again. So
yeah.
Yeah, and actually,
it can be a hobby for people who fly as well as just people who twiddle with computers. I think you're going to split people. I think there'll always be some who don't want to share.
Well, you can always, whatever. You can be more advanced. You can go in the console and play with the things if you want. I mean, if you're that type of guy who wants to twiddle with it, you still can. But most people, I don't think, want to. They just want to get out there and go fly, and they don't want to bang their head against the wall for 8 hours straight over something stupid. And it's going to get easier and easier. I mean, we have things going in there that are just going to take it to the whole next level with easiness. And So I think it'll get better and better as time goes on. But the goal is to get, like you said, make it more accessible. Like so many people go buy a quad, never can get a flying right, and then just don't do the hobby. And if there's less people in the hobby, there's less, innovation. There's less cool things coming out. There's less people to do it with. There's less people at races. And I want to see less, you go to these races and they're always the same people at every race. I like Sebring, the last race we went to, because it was more accessible to more people. So there are more new faces there. But that's what I want to see. It's a shame when it's just the same people at every single race.
Do you not see that the general hobby, and not necessarily just outside of racing, but it's still constantly growing? I mean, I'm amazed at how still many more people are asking me, how do I get into that? I want one of those. It's weird. And they're the ones that can't really build because they won't have any clue about any of the technology. But that's the accessibility part.
Yeah, and I think that's what I mean. If you look at everything we do, it's kind of aimed at making it easier. Like the pads for the ESCs are right in the corner where the ESCs hook up. I mean, you can solder them from the top like solder pads. The software's getting easier. We're trying to make it easier, but the most advanced at the same time, and that's tough. Like our gyro, by far the most advanced gyro in the market, regardless of what everyone says. I mean, the manufacturer says that. That's not me saying that. That's what the manufacturer said.
Yeah.
So, but it's more difficult, like you said, you have to isolate it and to make work in your quad because it's the more advanced gyro. And I think we figured that out with the gummies. I mean, really no one has any issues that I know with the gummies. It does a good job of that. But yeah, I mean, that's what we're hoping to do. We're hoping to make it better for everyone. So everyone can do it. I mean, eventually, hopefully, we'll make it so easy. Your grandmother can pick up a quad and do it, but still so advanced that Sean Taylor can, blow past everyone in the race. So,
no, that's when it's gone too. Not my gran. No, not letting.
Do you have anything new that might be coming out in Raceflight, or anything you might be adding to improve it any more?
Yeah, I mean, have you? There's a lot of stuff coming out with the Raceflight 1. I mean, we're adding in now all the features. So you're going to have all your OSDs working, your smart audio on the DTXs, all that stuff in the next couple of weeks. You should see, all being supported. Now that we have solid flight code, now it's time to add the features. So, all the stuff people are afraid is missing are there. I mean, we've added in a few features, with yesterday's release where your Tyrannus telemetry works, your Spectrum telemetry works, all that stuff. I don't know if you guys saw the videos. I mean, it's where Betaflight got the idea from, but we had the configurator in the Spectrum remote. Well, we're going to add in all that stuff. And,
wow.
We got some more cool stuff coming too. We have iPhone app coming out, works via Bluetooth. And I don't know, have you guys seen our 4-in-1 ESC that you just push it in, no soldering, the flight controller?
Hey, maybe Adam will get to build one of these things.
What? I have people for that kind of thing.
And that's the trouble. You sometimes have to DIY it. You have to do it yourself.
Yeah.
Adam has to make a plan and get out of the house and get down to the hack space because there is nowhere he's allowed. Yeah.
Okay. For anyone that's listening that's organising anything to do with the mini air show, maybe we get Adam doing a build day there. Now that would be brilliant.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Well, if it's race-like stuff, it should be a piece of cake.
Yeah. We'll use the race flight. Do you want to send us one? We'll pop it on, make sure we build it.
The last time I built anything,
it
was this. It was hex and stuff. It was monstrous.
Yeah.
The idea of all that little salt, I'll burn my hands.
So
no, I don't know. I hope. I think the biggest problem I see with people is soldering.
Yeah.
And we're on our way to making it so people have options that don't want to solder.
I mean, my gran, just to go back to something you're saying, I don't think I've seen her soldering, to be honest.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's the biggest thing now is there's so many people that just don't know how to solder properly. Like, we've seen lots of boards where people go to solder and they heat it up so much they knock another component off the board. Mm-hmm. Or they just, fry the pad off the board or things like that. And personally, if I didn't have to solder, I wouldn't solder. But I mean, right now there's just no choice. There's nothing out there that makes it so easy unless you want to use the crappy quads, the Ray to Fly ones or whatever. But I hope to make it easy for everyone. I mean, the racers want it more than anyone.
Do you think there'll ever be a market for a racing ready to fly, a decent one?
I think if it's built in such a way where it performs the same and you can use other parts on it, yeah. But I think these guys, like, they try and force you to use their own parts, and you're a racer. You're trying to make it as fast as possible. So if you're limited to what you can do, then why would you buy it?
And even through the choice of radio, you've got such a broad spectrum of different radios out there that you'd never get it just ready to fly unless you bundled it with a transmitter. And who wants that with no?
There is a market for like the ready built because of the Vortex. I mean, Immersion just released the Vortex 180 and stuff, but like Preston said, it is locked into their parts and their components. Everything's on one board, all that crazy stuff. There's different versions depending on where you buy it. So,
and people like options too. I mean, they don't want their quad to look the same. I mean, look at people's cars. No one's cars look the same, especially in the hobbyists where they work on their own cars. They want to customize it and make it look good. So
I was just thinking that 99% of cars look almost identical.
They have wheels.
Sometimes they're not in black.
99.9% of all DJI products look identical.
That's for sure.
They look like iPhone.
Yeah, I think DJI people are buying it just because it works. I mean, if they could make it have planes.
If the point of it is the camera, yeah, for sure. I don't really want to be thinking about it.
I mean, obviously there's a flight video of the new DJI racing drone out this week, so it's quite interesting that they've finally. I mean, they've had their ESCs and things out for a while, but I suppose they've made some mainstream notoriety. So, I mean, I've always liked the fact that there's the development behind the boards, behind the components, and it's always good when you get different people, people working on different ways and pushing it all forward, like you said earlier, pushing the envelope. So, as you develop them further for your race fight, are you going to look for more sensors, as you said, or are you going to look to improve on up to 64,000? Or what do you see as the immediate roadmap for this?
Well, in terms of the hardware or the software?
Well, I suppose it's more the software now, really, isn't it? I mean, do you look, because presumably it's the software-driven sensor modules that if you're going to hook them up, or it's the software tuning of the flight controller for.
I think with the software, I mean, our biggest roadmap is just to make as much stuff work now as possible. I think the next thing we're going to do is make Raceflight 1 working with the F3 because there's so many F3s out there. To kind of give people a taste of what it is, and then maybe they're like, well, yeah, this flies better. If there's even a better board I can buy and work better, then maybe they'll buy our board. So stuff like that. We have an OSD VTX coming out that's stacked on our board. I mean, kind of the goal is to make a modular system that works well with our software too, because even the most advanced racers, they don't want to mess with building all this stuff. Like if something blows up, they just want to pull it off, put another one on, and go with it. And that's why I don't like the all-in-one thing. I mean, your all-in-one, if it messes up, you throw the whole thing in the garbage. I mean, it needs to be somewhat modular, and things work better when they're modular. The gyro gets cleaner readings, and with one thing breaks, you're not throwing away a whole thing. And I don't know. I think this is where the market's going. I mean, we have pretty strong sales, so hopefully we kind of know what we're doing. I can't keep stuff on the shelf right now, which is a good and a bad problem to have.
And also shrinking it down as in the smaller version. I mean, you're going to have that exactly the same. It's the same feature set as the.
Yeah, we have the millivolt. I don't know if you saw. I mean, the little mini ESC that's 20 millimeters by 20 millimeters. It stacks too for your small, because I think small is going to be. I think you're going to have two segments. You're going to have like your 5 and your 6 inch market, which is what everyone's flying right now, and then you're going to have more like the 3 inch market, maybe a 4 inch, but probably mostly 3 inch, because if you can get the same performance and close to the same speed on 3 inch, then you're like, you guys during the winter, we don't have this problem. It's sunny outside all the time here, but you could be indoors and have some pretty fast races, and you can still fly it outside and it flies just as well. And then.
Now
we don't do anything for 4 months.
I mean, the micro brushless size is really starting to take off, pardon the pun. I mean, there are a lot more models appearing on, sites advertising that 3 inch prop size, and they're still running 4-cell, batteries with quite some power, with a little bit of momentum. So I'm still fascinated by these smaller micro ones for smaller area flying and more flying, essentially, where I couldn't necessarily put up my bigger birds. So
every time we talk about it, you actually sound excited, which is really.
I am. I'm very excited.
And me.
Well, I've
had some meaning to get around to. Although now I need to buy the whole DJI snail system just to annoy you lot.
Well, if you want slower ESCs, then go for it. I think that only supports one shot, so it's kind of like I don't know. I don't think these big companies kind of know what's going on in the market. Like, and I think they do get initial people buying stuff. They're like, oh, DJI came out something great. I'm going to try it out, and then people put it on their quad, and they're like, eh. And they get
shipping 15 to 20. I don't really understand why they're doing it at all, to be honest. I guess because they're worried the TV show will take off and they need to have their branding on it.
Yeah, I think they just don't know what this market's going to do. They can see it's growing. They want to be part of it. But what's good about this market is that it's harder for these bigger companies to maybe break into it because they don't know what's going on. I think is what this market's moving so fast. Think about where we were 3 months ago.
It's not just speed. It's like the economics of it are insane from their point of view. You think of the margins on a Phantom, which is going to be costing them probably no more than £300 to make, and they're charging 1,500 or that sort of money.
Yeah, I think
once
they
they
have
fix
the
the
money.
Software. Why?
Well, I think that's kind of what we're doing too, because the problem is, there's no one funding development in any of this stuff. There's no one funding, and even more importantly, support. That's why we came out their board, because we have programmers that are full time that we're paying, and we have support people that are full time we're paying, and that money has to come from somewhere. We're not getting rich off this stuff at all.
I assumed you found a pile in your garden or something.
I have a money tree in the backyard,
yeah.
But yeah, and it's great because I think we're more well known for our support than anything. You can talk to us directly, the developers, but we have people supporting, and we have an amazing community that all works and helps with each other as well. But it's kind of nice to see, rather than someone like Banggood who makes $2 on something and keeps it. Yeah. We're selling stuff and it's going back to the people working on it, to make it better. And I hope people will support more stuff like that than a cloner who just, when someone builds their own board, then when someone comes out and copies it, charges less, makes $2, and that's not a business. I know that's Dominic.
I hope so too, because if you can persuade the sort of, people when they buy coffee to spend extra money, so the people who pick the beans have a slightly less miserable experience, then it should be the same for, everything else as well.
Well, yeah, and if you go ahead.
Oh no! I was just going to say, actually, it's amazing for how many people say, "Oh, I'm just messaging Preston to find out this on Raceflight." I've just heard back from Preston. So actually, you do at a grassroots level of support around there. But actually, what's that? I mean, well, Clinton, you've had. I
was just about to say, the one thing I will say about Raceflight is their support is absolutely on board. If you message either in their Slack or on the Facebook, or just message them directly, every single time, within 5-10 minutes, you'll get a response. I think I've had a few people actually remote into my desktop and actually go through all the software on my Raceflight and set it all up for me, set the PIDs and everything. It's just incredible.
go through all your personal files, that sort of thing.
I think I saw some porn, but but yeah, that's what it is. It's grassroots. Like you said, we're trying to help out everyone, and hopefully we help out one guy and he helps with the next guy and he helps with the next guy, and it kind of spreads. But we don't want someone to not get flying. That's their goal, to get everyone flying, because once they get flying, they pretty much don't want to fly anything else.
Can I let you into
the old days?
Have you got any ideas of starting a wiki or anything then, or of frequently asked questions? Just to, is there?
We have a new website coming up. It's hard to make time for everything. So stuff. I think the biggest thing is right now stuff changes so quick that anything we put up constantly would have to be changed. So it's easier for us to just have a Slack where we can tell everyone, okay, now this has changed, now this has changed. And but as we're getting to the point where we're more stable now. We got everything working well. So now we can spend more time on this. There is a manual for Raceflight 1. I don't know if you guys have seen it. That someone named Destro on our Slack works on it, and it tells you step by step with screenshots how to install it and all that stuff, and tries to make it easy. And we released a new version last night. He's already updated the manual this morning. So there is a manual right now, and it'll just get better and better. But I think our goal is really to get all the documentation in the configurator. So you can click on a little question mark and see what it does, or look at little videos in the configurator. That's the goal, right? Because everyone's going to have this configurator installed. And once they do, all the information's at their fingertips. So that's kind of where we're going.
I suppose it depends on which way around you look at it. Whether you look at documentation before you build, or you've built it and then you're looking to. Yeah, well, no, or then you've built it. Well, sometimes you need to work out what connectors, where you can put in stuff, voltages, whatever. But I think
but we do that. We do have that stuff online. I mean, if you go to our rebuildfc.com, it's like our online manual.
I'm just thinking you might get less. You might get less Facebook messages saying, "What do I do with this?" If it's a general guide, idiots guide. Have you built it? Have you built your quad properly? Yes or no? No. Oh well.
We're moving there. I mean, like I said, we can't ever overnight have everything, working.
No, that's true.
Beta Flight has thousands of people helping, and to be honest, I think all their stuff is disjointed and disconnected, and it's kind of difficult to find what you want. Even though there's a lot of it, maybe that makes people feel better. But when I was doing it, I mean, I could never find out anything. I mean, I would have killed for a Slack like we have when I started out. Somewhere I could go and ask questions. And Dominic had something similar with IRC. But
my first one was trawling through RC groups for the KK board and multi-copter days. So, ugh. So
you gotta read 8 million posts to find your one
just
answer.
Find one little thing, and then it's further down from that, then further down from that, then
and you find it, and then that doesn't even work anymore. You're like, I couldn't even figure out how to flash OpenPilot when I first started. Like, it was crazy. They couldn't even find anything how to install it, and I don't know. Sometimes you just need your hands held. No matter how much documentation you read, you're not going to figure it out. It's so much nicer to go like to our Slack where there's thousands of people and be like, hey, I can't figure this out. And then some guy figured it out and felt the same as you was there and be like, oh, you just got to do this. I mean, I think with the wizards and stuff, we're going to get away from the documentation too, because it does it for you. I mean, our goal is really, if you can't, get up and flying easily, then we did our job wrong. Like, you shouldn't need to go in there and twiddle all these knobs and flick all these switches and type in all these numbers and minimum throttles and what's sent to the ESCs and all this crazy stuff. There is no point in any of that. Like, it's built for an engineer by an engineer is what it feels like. It's not very pleasing, and people are used to it, but that's why it's still done that way. I think they just got used to it. But for new people, it seems like it's crazy.
I think FPV is still a bit of a subculture en masse around the world. We don't want too many people joining this world. You've got to be careful.
now he's the one trying to stop
I know,
people.
actually. I'm thinking the plan. Maybe we need to have more foresight on this.
Don't worry.
I actually think, it's FPV. There's a settled. People are still joining, but it is more settled. And if you go into in the shops like Mankind and stuff, drones are not the those ones out. The ready to fly things are sort of backing off, and I think that it'll be less aggressive. I don't think you need to worry about being attacked from all sides by noobs and what have you. I think now we just need to fix me.
Well, let's put it this way: you guys especially have all these crazy FPV laws being passed in Europe, right? I mean, the more people are in it, the more people are going to be like, yeah, no, that's a stupid law. So I think that's why it's important to get more people in it.
Very good point. Very good point.
I'm pretty sure that we are allowed to fly FPV. I'm not at all sure you guys are.
Well, we're definitely allowed, but I think a lot of, I don't know, I'm hearing about some crazy stuff in Europe. So I don't know how it is in each country there.
I mean, does it fall under state law in the US, or is it FAA and across
it's
the whole?
FAA, and I think technically the FAA made a law that says no one else can make a law about it. So basically, it's like we're the only ones you have to listen to. You don't need to listen to anyone else. I think is pretty much.
Because wasn't it California saying that it was banned, or was one state that said it was banned? But I that's what I thought of FPV, or they were banning FPV flights for some.
I don't think it was a state. I think maybe individual cities maybe did. Well, I don't know. It was going crazy for a little bit, and then the FAA
it did,
came
actually.
out. Yeah, the FAA came out and said, no, we're the only ones that can make laws about this, and that's how they kind of help that way. And I don't think it's really super explicit, like this is what you're allowed to do, but the way our law system works is based on what the courts decide, right? So if there's nothing that explicitly says something, you have to go to court, and once they've made case laws, and that's what matters. And so there's no case law.
You stole that system from us, in fairness.
I think we're kind of the same. It wasn't really stolen. It's it's like saying my brother stole my dad from me. You know, I mean, it's like
True.
But yeah, I mean, but I know that's not the way it works in all European countries. I mean, that's so I think that's why we have no issues. I mean, yeah, if someone goes to court and someone decides it's illegal to fly with goggles on, then we might be in trouble. But I don't know. They'd have to twist and contort the laws to get them to that point. I don't know. It's pretty good here, especially in Arizona. Like I have zero issues in Arizona. I've never been told.
A lot of space in Arizona.
Yeah. Well, our cities embrace it. We have drone parks with designated drone areas in all our parks.
Really? Awesome.
Yeah, they're FAA and AMA, fields, and yeah, they support it really well here. It's crazy how nice it is here. Like, we just had a race the other day, and we didn't have to worry about anything. We just show up with a bunch of people, throw gates out in the AMA field in the Phoenix Park, and we go flying. And I know Glendale's trying to open up stuff in our city here, and yeah, they're really good about it. We got the perfect weather, and they're embracing it. I know, like states like Texas, people may have major issues. They keep banning them everywhere.
We don't really have space in London. We have people buildings.
And we have perfect weather for 3-inch props indoors.
Yeah.
Well, you can go dive some buildings.
I think I live very near where the 2012 Olympics were, and I keep meaning to go and petition to change the use of the velodrome track. I think that would be awesome, wouldn't it?
Andrew's got a few questions.
It's just going round and round though in a velodrome.
No, you could put some stuff in it. There's, it's a funny shaped building. It's just a good big size.
Yeah. Did you say Frank's got?
They've also got an outdoor track with bends and.
Maybe for your Inspire. Maybe for your Inspire, Adam.
I'm not racing the Inspire.
Put a race flight controller in it.
Yeah. In fact, you should do that just as an upgrade to this Phantom video. And
then if it crashes, you can put up a video race flight killed your Phantom, and then you'll get 20,000 views. So.
Yeah,
I have a Phantom lying around that has no purpose.
I did have one very important question that I had to ask about race flight is when you're flashing your ESCs and it says, "Have you taken your props off, lad?" Does that have anything to do with Tom Smith?
Not that I know of, but who knows? We try to have a little bit of humor in what we do because otherwise life's pretty boring, right? Can't take ourselves too serious.
There's quite a few cracks in there. It always makes me smile when I'm flashing the flight controller.
You know what? I think what we need in flight controllers now is Easter eggs. So flip it left and right and up and down and does something crazy. Maybe that's the surprise we need to find out.
What's funny is our flight controller, our new version 2, has an Easter egg on it, and someone just realized it. If you the CPU underneath it has like Schizo's little guy under it. Some guy had pulled his CPU off his flight controller. He's like, "Whoa, what's this under here?"
Wow.
So,
awesome.
So if you guys,
how many people are going to do that now? Then, yeah.
Yeah. And I think the cat's out of the bag now. Yeah.
You heard it here first. Awesome.
But yeah, I mean, why take yourself so seriously? And I think we made a little friction from some people who get upset. If we call things like witchcraft because it feels like witchcraft, but.
Is that me?
We don't. You don't have to be serious.
Duck out.
I think I prefer the term to magic, or witchcraft as pure effing magic.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. It's been an interesting ride, so far. We just want to make cool stuff that flies better than everyone else. Ultimately, we make the best decisions we think, and so far it's worked out. For the majority. But I don't know if you guys
some questions in the chat. If you got time for it.
Sure.
So, is the F3s still capable flight controllers, or should I concentrate?
I'll just repeat that. Is F3 a still capable flight controller, or should I concentrate on getting an F4 flight controller from Magnus Strix?
Well, I'll tell you, an F4 is 2 advantages. One, it's a lot faster. It's a lot faster. It's On a F3, maybe on a good day going downwind, we can do a good 8 kilohertz. On an F4, we can do 32 kilohertz, well, at least on our board. So that makes a big difference. I mean, that's 4 times more information to stabilize your quad, so it makes it feel smoother. We can eliminate Raceflight 1 now with our board. Crop wash doesn't even exist. You'll hear it, like it sounds like your quad shaking, but it actually doesn't show up in the video because we're actually counteracting it. And F3, we're never going to be able to do that. There's just not enough processing power. And then the other disadvantage is it has a lot less memory. So we can't store as much stuff in memory. We can't do as much math. We can't do as much calculations. We can't have near as much stuff. Like the F3 was developed to be as a cheaper alternative to the F4. It is newer, but it was made for a specific purpose to be cheaper. And now the boards are so cheap. I mean, we're talking pennies between the two. There's really no reason to go with an F3. Absolutely no reason. I mean, it has an inverter on it, but you can just put an inverter circuit in. That's not a reason. There's just no reason to do them. So if you're buying a new one, buy an F4. If you're already have an F3, yeah, it's going to fly okay. But when you put like our board in there, you're going to realize that you've been missing out this whole time.
But I think it's only now that it's worth for that argument getting an F4 because software's catching up, because everything's catching up. You're probably still. I mean, especially with Betaflight. I mean, come on, if you're on a Betaflight, is there an advantage to an F4? Probably not. Your F3 probably flies the same on both. I mean, so long since I've flown Betaflight, I couldn't tell you for sure. But yeah, I mean, their thing is all about 8 kilohertz as being the max. I think at one time Boris said, you never need more than 1 kilohertz. So they're behind in our agreement. We want to run as fast as possible. So yeah, you run that, then F3 is fine. But for us, man, our F4 with our gyro, it flies crazy good, like nothing better I can imagine. And I can tell you right now, we're not maxed out. So our board is future-proof. We got quite a bit of room to grow before we need to come out with an F7. There's no reason for it at the moment. But yeah, so I don't know, the best way to answer that question. F3 is okay, but for $40, that'll be the best upgrade you ever made. It's like your computer only has 1 gig of RAM. If you put 16 gigs of RAM in it, it's going to feel amazing, for pretty cheap. So it's kind of the same thing. It's like if you could upgrade, it's like in your computer, if you upgraded the CPU and the memory at the same time. And I see someone said Betaflight supports 32 kilohertz in the chat. It doesn't support 32 kilohertz. Just so you know, you're not processing your data at 32 kilohertz. It is not possible to process at 30 kilohertz. It's the reason we dumped the whole Betaflight code base. It's not possible. It's too inefficient. It needs to be rewritten from scratch to even hit that. And it's not just about 32 kilohertz, just so everyone understands. There's a lot of other improvements. And what I do recommend you do is try someone's revolt with Raceflight and make a decision that way. Don't believe me. Go try it for yourself and then argue with me it's not better. And I don't think you'll ever argue that once you've tried it. Good answer. I mean, an F4 these days, yeah. It'd be interesting to try, I think, going forward, and especially what you're going to do, because you're only in beta today, aren't you? As in pretty much UK time, beta from today. So
yeah,
a full release later.
It was like around 10 p.m. our time, so we're the next day.
Yeah, morning. It's today.
Yeah.
It's today. We're in the future. We're always in the future over this side. A few people are actually asking about multi-shot, obviously, and in terms of D-shot, as in, is there any views of what you're going to do with multi-shot? And
well, I will say this: Raceflight 1 does support both. So if you want to try multi-shot and one shot, you can compare yourself. And everyone that's pretty much run Raceflight 1 has went back to multi-shot. And the reason is because multi-shot is 4 times faster than D-shot. So for starters, just in latency terms, it's better. And in terms of the ESCs can't handle 32 kilohertz with D-shot. It's not possible of it. So you're going to have to run slower than 32 kilohertz to run it, with the exception of if you run KISS ESCs, which it seems to work okay on, except the people we've had testing them, when they hit 32 kilohertz, they have a lot of them catch on fire. So it runs good until it doesn't. So it goes back to the old KISS ESCs catching on fire thing.
Jack knows all about that. Do not
No,
be on fire, people. Yeah.
And it's not their fault probably. I mean, D-Shots, the way the protocol's written, it's very inefficient. You're sending way more data. The CPU's having to do way more things. You're kind of fixing a problem that doesn't exist. I think the people that felt the difference is the way D-Shot works in Betaflight. When the motor calculations are calculated, it sends it out to the motors right away, right? With D-Shot, as soon as it figures out what needs to be done, it sends it. Well, with multi-shot, it didn't. So there was a lag there. So when they went to D-Shot, what they're feeling more than anything is that lag is gone between when the calculations are gotten and then when they're sent. Raceflight's never had that issue. So I think that's why it doesn't feel any different. And the one big thing about the D-Shot thing that they found out, which I think is great, is, they were moving that capacitor off the signal line to make D-Shot work. Removing that makes multi-shot work way better. So I think the biggest improvement they're seeing is just removing that capacitor, because that was put on there for like old protocols. It's not needed.
Yeah, definitely makes a big
my advice.
difference.
Yeah, my advice is modify your ESCs for D-Shot, but try multi-shot. But then again, try them both.
It's often interesting when software changes a hardware design in that way, as in until it's actually like a software something comes out to change it, protocols. I mean, I wonder how many people are now going to just pop those little, well, probably even the wrong capacitor, wrong bits off, but hopefully the right bits.
yeah, just don't pick one at random. Make sure it's the right one.
And even if you've got one, check your version of your ESCs, people, because they're sometimes different between one and the next.
Yeah, I mean, it does make it better. I think that is great. I think it's great that you can take your old ESCs on your thing, pop that capacitor off, and it runs better. It's funny because it just shows how the separation is between the people writing software and the people doing the hardware. With Raceflight, we develop the boards. I work with engineers and and we also do the software. So it's a good synergy. The stuff works good together. But with other stuff, it's just people making the random, like the people making boards. Some of them have no clue about anything. They're just making a board to make money, and so that's, I think, why you run into these things, because they're not thinking through. They don't do the other part. Like I've always said, support the people that make stuff and not the people that are just cloning things and stuff like that as well. So, go ahead.
Oh, no. You go ahead, actually, because I was only going to answer.
I don't even know what I was going to
No, after you. You're the guest. After you.
No, I'm done. I don't even know.
So with your multi-shot then, I mean, with your faster boards, with, more processing power on these things, are you going to look to maybe change anything on the ESC front with multi-shot version 2? And
yeah, actually, we have a multi-shot version 2 coming out, which will double the speed, and we even have one that's 3 times the speed. So we're going to probably implement that. One thing we have noticed is, we run at 32 kilohertz, right? And so we send everything to the ESC at 32 kilohertz. Well, the ESC only writes to the motor at 24 kilohertz.
Right.
So we need to fix that little part about it. And we've talked to, the BL Heli guys, and they say they can actually double that speed. So we think once we double that speed, how you've heard people complain about yaw twitches and stuff like that? We think that's where it's coming from, because it's aliasing. It's going from 32 down to 24. So by doubling that speed, it should eliminate a lot of those little issues that people have seen. And we're kind of having to code around them right now, when really that little fix will probably make it a lot better for everyone. So there's still, your same ESCs will still be able to work at a faster speed. They just need to make a little tweak to the code. So hopefully they're working on that right now, so we can get that done. We have someone looking at it right now too. So I think that might make things even better when that happens. I don't know if you noticed, we always have our own version of BL Heli and Raceflight, because we'll take it and find bugs hopefully and fix them and before they even get around to fix them, to make sure everyone's experience is the best. And we might have a slightly older version in there because we know it works well and we tested and fixed it. So.
Yeah,
that's another great thing about Raceflight, is the ability to flash and set up all your ESCs in the configurator. It makes life so much easier. Like no downloading BL Heli Suite or anything. It does it all, like everything.
Yeah, have you tried the one-wire auto command yet? That one's amazing. Just one command and boom, all your ESCs are updated.
I used it for the first time yesterday, I believe. And it's literally just write the command in, let it do its thing, and Bob's your uncle.
Yeah, the new wizard is going to be even better, because we're going to detect the version you have and, hey, you need to update these and say yes or no. And then we're going to spin each one and let you pick which one's spinning the wrong way. and we'll just automatically reverse the motors and do all that stuff for you. So it'll be, you know, really easy.
That's amazing.
Pure
to do a lot of that stuff.
magic. Yeah,
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Do you because you have a new configurator coming out as well, don't you? Is that right?
Yeah, the new one came out last night. So I don't know if you've used the one last night, but it is a lot different. It works a lot better. And now we're just going to start adding more and more features to it. It took us a while to kind of settle on the language and platform to use because we're using the HID stuff. Which, if anyone's listening, basically your mouse uses HID. That's why it doesn't need any driver. It uses HID instead of serial. And you know, we switched it out on Raceflight, so you can just plug it in and it instantly connects. And not everything works well with it. You know, we tried a lot of different things to finally get to the framework we're using now. That works pretty well with it. And so now it's been working pretty smooth with the latest stuff. So from here on out, we're just going to make it better and better now that we've got the solid foundation.
That's the first thing I'm going to do this evening is go and get that and give it a go, I think.
Yeah, you'll be amazed how easy it is, I think, and how well it works.
Well, on one of my flying machines, I had to like try and flash my ESCs from a board that I have to unsolder, solder onto another board just to get a flash all the ESCs just to resolder back. So actually, I'm ready to change on that one. I always said last time I did that, never again. And well, that was just one of the ones that flies quite well. But actually, we've got someone that's Skyminder asks if there's any thoughts of a board or, you know, software that can do auto PID setup, which comes back to your accessibility and adapt to your flying style. Because you've got the software now and the CPU to overheads to be able to do that.
Yeah, I think what we've found is if we find the right PIDs, they pretty much work on everything. And we're going to have like a tuning database and have it automatically report back, and you can get different tunes for your configuration and things like that. But I think you guys seen, and it's getting better and better, that the minute you know, you flash it to your quad, it flies amazing. So I think from that point, it's just tweaking it a little bit to get that little teeny feel that you need. Like it's not, Raceflight's not like Betaflight. I mean, it flies pretty amazing. And part of that's 32 kilohertz. Because we're running at 32 kilohertz, the tuning window is enormous. You know, it's immense. So quads in general fly better because we're processing at 32,000 times a second. The PID loop's actually operating at that speed, so it can make up for inconsistencies with your tune and make it a lot closer. So that's one of the reasons we push 32 kilohertz, because let's put it this way. I flashed Raceflight 1 personally on 25 probably different quads, and every single one of them flew great immediately, like at 98%, you know, where they could be. And so, you know, we're constantly working on that and trying to get it better and better, but we think at some point it'll be pretty flawless. Almost every quad's going to work amazing. And you're going to pick your motors and your other things, and we'll tweak it slightly based on your configuration. But I think it's just too hard for the quad to know. Like the auto-tune stuff doesn't work well. You know,
no, it never has.
Yeah, it's a personal preference thing. Like some guys want it more robotic, some guys want it more organic. That's more what it's about than anything.
Well, interestingly, Gucci earlier on in the chat did say that Raceflight 1 on Revolt on stock PIDs is damn near perfect for 95% of pilots. You know, obviously stock is working for most setups and most pilots that have put it on. So
yeah, and I think those people it's not working for, it's filters, and we actually have automatic filters and stuff too that you can enable to do the filtering automatically. So I think it's less PIDs, it's more filtering at that point. And the only reason we don't do automatic filtering by default is because it'll change the way your quad flies from time to time. It'll still fly good, but it's a slight subtle change. And guys like Schizo notice that subtle change, and it drives them nuts. You know, they know their quad so well. If it feels a teeny bit different, they're going crazy. They think something's wrong.
Well, throwing in a variable such as wind and air pressure and things like that can, you know, create havoc for trying to process against that.
Yeah, and most people who, you know, especially who haven't done this a long time, will put on there, they think it flies amazing every time. But I think it's the pro guys that the automatic stuff doesn't work for as much for, because they just know their quad so well. They don't want it to be automatic. They want it to be exactly like they want it to be. So it's kind of like the
point of flying. Once you get something perfect, you just have it perfect.
Yeah. And I think one thing I will say is, if you think your quad's flying perfect, try something else. Like even if you're not running Raceflight on a Revolt, try it, because
it's something else.
Your idea of perfect might change really quick once you try something better. You know, I think that's the biggest thing. Like, you know, when we started out, we just let people fly our quads randomly. We go to the fly, hey, try this out. You know, and that was the easiest way to get people.
I can't afford to try too many people's different quads because I don't want another one.
Yeah, yeah. Well, at least now you can just upgrade. Put your new flight controller in, and your quad's probably flying amazing. In my opinion, take any quad, put a revolt in it, it's going to fly amazing. That's going to be your biggest upgrade. And think about it, it's the brain of your quad. What's the most important thing? Your brain. Yeah. So it makes sense that would be the best upgrade you could do. But yeah, I mean, it is amazing. I saw someone ask what the best ESCs are for race flight. I mean, really any BL Heli or BL Heli ESCs are going to work fine. We created our own ESC just because we wanted people to have one they know it works. But I think the biggest thing is you don't know if the ESC you're buying is junk or not, right?
Exactly. And quality control, quality parts. I mean, we saw it with sort of a lot of the Nazir boards that are coming out. You get some that are just chucked out cheap, but the quality of the parts they're using is not up to par. And the biggest thing is too, we're doing things on these ESCs they're not meant to do. These FETs are not made to do what we're doing with them. So you are going to get some ESCs that come from the factory that aren't going to work, no matter who you are. We get them, everyone gets them. The difference is, if you get one, you say, hey, I got a bad ESC, immediately we're sending you out another one. No questions asked. You're not returning anything. You're not having to deal with the return process. We're just going to send it. No questions asked. And I think that's the biggest deal. I always buy 5 just to have
and I recommend that for everyone. Buy 5 if you have a bad one.
Still fly.
Yeah, exactly. By the way, someone's still going about the 32 kilohertz beta flight. I said it doesn't process at 32 kilohertz. It does read the gyro at 32 kilohertz, but the gyro already does that internally, so that's not an advantage. It doesn't process the data at 32 kilohertz. So that's what people don't understand. There's a difference between reading it and processing it at 32 kilohertz. That's where it takes the CPU power to actually use the data, instead of just averaging it together and coming up with a number, and it's funny, these stupid arguments we argue nonstop, and really doesn't matter. I don't care if Beta Flight processes at 8 kilohertz and flies better, then fly Beta Flight. Just try race flight with a revolt first before you decide it's better. No matter what, it's more than just 32 kilohertz. It's about the way everything works together. It's the way how our code works, how we do things, how our mixer works, how everything works.
Well, Clinton has 2 setups identical, so he's going to lend me one, I think. So
I love it so much. They are literally identical.
They are, yeah. Redundancy, called redundancy.
you need a spare.
Mind you, one thing I will say is since I've upgraded to race flight and the F4 flight controller, I haven't crashed anymore. So the redundant one is still literally shiny, and it's been flown once as a test. That's it in about a month and a half. So it's still shiny.
Nothing to do with you actually getting a better pilot every time you fly, but no. I mean, there's all parts to it.
I don't know. It's hard to judge. I mean, the thing is that since I've had race flight, I have stopped crashing a lot. And I have definitely noticed an improvement in my flying. So I really do put a lot of that down to the flight controller and what it's doing for me.
Even you're trusting it, surely. If you trust a flight controller, you're more daring.
Oh, I mean,
you're more capable. You feel that.
I'd be flying this over water and everything. So, I trust it.
I think when you see other people fly like Beta Flight, watch their fingers. You'll see they're moving their fingers constantly, nannying their quad, to make it do what they want. And then you'll watch guys that fly race flight, and their fingers will move super smooth and not that much, because it's like you point at the thing and it just goes. You don't have to keep it on that straight path the whole time. You don't have to back up the throttle under full throttle turns. It just goes. And I think that's probably why you're flying better, because it's less you have to do. The flight controller's handling more of it, and I think for the kind of the middle of the road guys, not the guys that are beginners, not the guys that are experts, it's the biggest improvement, because they're having to not have all that muscle memory that the real advanced guys have to, and still can fly quite as well. And I think that kind of scares people too. The better it gets flying, the easier it gets. Like these guys that are the top racers, they're afraid the 13-year-old is going to come along and blow them away. And, I guess they better keep practicing, because, it probably is going to get more and more that way, the easier it is to get people into it. But I don't see it as a bad thing. I mean, it's more people doing the hobby. It's more people enjoying it. More people, more people do it, the more money there is, the better the stuff's going to get, the more fun it's going to be. You know,
more development. Yeah.
I mean, it's good for everyone. I don't, I wouldn't worry about it. It would be really cool to go to one of these races and see like 500 entries at one of these races. Multiple fields and all this other stuff. You can have class and all that kind of stuff. Go ahead.
I think it's one of those industries that's on the cutting edge of consumer electronics, to the point of what they can do and fit, and at the edge of battery development of small things. It's the edge of making these processors fly with gyros and everything, the stabilization. It's the edge of what we see so much new development, because it's still a consumer interest mostly, but the development for that consumer interest largely into an unknown is immense for what you can see, from ESCs going through software versions, flight controllers starting off from the original KK to multi-wii to OpenPilot, all those. It has been constant development by people for people, and we're quite lucky in our pastime and stuff to have such exciting changes all the time, but it has nothing with my bank balance ever. Nothing.
I guess it could be worse. I mean, like if you're into road racing or anything like that, it's way more expensive. I mean, that's what I used to do before I did quads. A set of tires is going to cost you like $1,500 for a weekend. So.
Wow. What racing was it? Sorry.
Like road racing, like.
Oh, right.
Yeah. You guys do that over there, right? We
have variants like the touring cars. We have the MotoGP. There's all sorts, but.
Yeah. But that was way more expensive and way more dangerous. I like this much better. It's much cheaper to replace some $3 props than $1,500 tires when you hit something. So I guess it's all in perspective. Hobbies have always been expensive. I think as they go, this is probably one of the cheapest hobbies.
But it is the most fun. I mean, I never have I thought, it's my lunch break, I'll go out and enjoy my hobby, or it's before work, I'll enjoy my hobby in the same way I do now when I'm flying. But
yeah, and you can do it anywhere. That's what's nice about it, too. You can just be, wherever in the world and go fly. I mean, you can even be inside and fly your tiny whoop or whatever. So it is pretty cool that there's so much you can do it everywhere you go, more or less.
With more race flights. So, Preston, it's been wonderful having you on the show today. And obviously, with so many developments of things going on and new GUIs, new sort of code and everything, betas today, we'd love to have you back on, maybe in a short while, to tell us how things are going and get you back on if you.
Yeah, sounds good. It was nice being on your show. I enjoyed it. So.
It's a pleasure.
Yeah, man. I just want to say thank you for helping my friend Simon or Bradders a lot, man. I really appreciate it. And
anytime.
He's really sort of trooping race flight, and I know we make fun of Tony a lot. We say stuff like,
he can't build that.
soft mount your ESCs and stuff like that. But we try and help him. But yeah, I mean, I haven't had a go at race flight, and then maybe one day I might, if I do get hold of a F4 board. But I'm very interested. I wish you I want you to come back on more so you can chat about the code and how you moved over from race flight 1 and stuff. But yeah, if you're up for that one day, give us a shout.
Yeah, sure, by all means, let me know.
Yeah, thank you. But yeah, more than anything, thanks for helping my friend.
yeah, no problem. I like seeing people get flying, no matter what they're flying or what hardware they bought. It's nice to see people enjoying themselves doing this. So.
Yeah.
All right. Jay, do you want to see us out?
Yeah. Well, thanks everyone for listening in, and thanks for the questions. And Preston, we've been joined this week by Frank and Clinton. Thanks for your input.
No worries. One question though, Jay. Are you sold on Raceflight now? Will you be upgrading?
Yeah, I will actually, because there's many things you've sold me on it, and it's the way forward. I see. So I am going to get one.
Yeah, definitely.
For my next build, I will do it because I'm due a build. This is the point. I've had my summer last year, and I'm onto a new build. So
glad to hear. It's going to be addicting for sure. You'll see.
You might get my tech support in the middle of the night now because it's my daytime.
That's okay. I don't sleep, so we're good.
Yeah. Excellent. Cool. Well, thanks everyone for tuning in, and find us next week at the same place, same time. Thank you all.
Let's try it out.
See you later.
Woo.